Welcome to Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Star Wars Outlaws. I played it on the Xbox Series X. It's also available on the PS5 and PC. So let's start with the story. You play as Kay Vess, who can't stop telling everyone in the Star Wars underworld that her name is Kay Vess, which I feel is a bad move for a career criminal. But Kay Vess is probably the most unlucky criminal in the Star Wars galaxy, because every job she seems to go on just goes sideways. The first job you do in the game goes sideways, which leads her to take on the second job you do in the game, which kicks off the main story of the game, where Kay is tasked by Jalen Vrax to put together a crew for the biggest heist they could possibly imagine. And if you're wondering if anything in this story was predictable, it really was a very predictable story. Not that it wasn't a well-told story and a fairly interesting story, it was just a fairly predictable story. There weren't a whole lot of like, oh, surprise moments that really landed for me. I kind of saw them coming. Things that could have been good surprise moments were, foreshadowed with a baseball bat, basically. But that being said, I actually enjoyed the story and I enjoyed the characters. I think that was actually probably my favorite part, was Kay Vess as a character, as well as ND5. I thought they were well done. Which leads me into the audio, and the voiceover work is excellent in this game. I had zero complaints with anyone and any of their performances. I think they did a very good job just across the board. As for the music, I think all the music felt sufficiently Star Wars. I didn't have any complaints. I think they really did a good job making it fit within the universe. And then of course you have your sound effects, which I think, again, they all feel like they fit well within the Star Wars universe, whether it's the creatures, the jungle, and the atmosphere. I should say the atmosphere on any planet, as well as blasters, spaceships, etc. I think that all works very well. The one complaint I do have in the audio department is there were a few times where characters were supposed to have lines and their lips were moving, but I wasn't hearing any lines. So that was just a kind of obnoxious glitch, and it wasn't a consistent glitch. It only happened a few times, but it's still frustrating nonetheless. Oh, I also had an audio glitch where I knocked out a dude and like his body hitting the floor sound was extra loud and then continued on and on and on, and I had to restart my game. It was obnoxiously loud. It was atrociously loud. It sounded kind of like this. But then let's get on to the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and this is pretty standard Ubisoft fare, except for there's no climbing towers to reveal parts of the map, because that's so over. I hope it's over. But this is a third-person action game, really actually light on the RPG elements, I would say. You can unlock new abilities, but the way they do it is actually fairly cool. Kay finds mentor characters, essentially, and you complete, not objectives, but I guess challenges for them. Not necessarily for them, but, that would fit under their skill tree. Like use 5 different weapons than Kay's blaster, that works for the heavy. And so you gain new abilities that would be tied to the heavy, and using different things and just sneaking about or doing different things will complete these challenges and you unlock new abilities. So I thought that was a kind of cool way of going about it. But you have all your main story missions, and then you have all your side content like the challenges, like the syndicate reputation system, which could be really annoying at times in my opinion, because there's a lot of missions where helping out one syndicate's gonna piss off another syndicate, so if you're trying to like get good rep with all the syndicates, it starts to be annoying. It's something I was working on after beating the main story, and that leads into, those missions as well as the other side missions. Some of the side missions are really good and have their own fun stories, which I enjoyed, but then, your contracts, your syndicate missions, they have their own ideas, but at its core, this is really a stealth-oriented game generally, so they involve sneaking about, stealing stuff. Or at least that's how I played it, because I feel like Kay gets smoked way too easily to go in guns blazing. I think one of the best elements is Nix, your little pet that can actually help you throughout the gameplay, whether it's turning on buttons in rooms you can't reach, stealing from enemies, attacking enemies, just all sorts of things. I thought Nix was actually really cool and well executed. I should also point out that Kay's specialty is, because she's kind of sneaky, is slicing, so she can pick locks with her little pick, as well as slicing into computers. It's hacking. The hacking minigame is interesting because it's basically just Wordle, but with weird alien symbols. And then the lock picking is kind of a weird rhythm light game. That's the best way I can describe it. There is a ton of stuff in this game, like upgrading your ship, your speeder, your blaster. There's aerial dogfights in space, so I guess space dogfights, not aerial. Either way, you get to do that. Fortunately, there's no real escort missions. Occasionally, your crew will participate in missions, but you don't have to protect them. You don't have to babysit them. That is nice. And there's a good amount of exploration and just finding secret areas and treasures, which are basically just chests to loot and whatnot, which lead to parts to upgrade things or to sell for money, etc. And overall, I think the gameplay worked. There's a good amount of it, but it isn't like crazy in depth. There's not an insane amount of variety, but I actually had fun with the gameplay loop. One thing I will say that I did really love was, despite the fact that this game is like, always connected to the Ubisoft servers bullshit, if you lose connection to the servers, you don't get kicked out of your game. You can keep playing. I fucking hate games that force you out. It's bullshit, especially in single player experiences. Although I do think it is bullshit that you need to be connected to servers at all in a single player experience, but whatever. Now let's get into the controls, and overall I like the controls. The one thing I had issues with at first and wasn't always 100% down on was pressing down the right stick to collect items and talk to people and whatnot. Like, it makes sense and it actually works great. It's just weird and it's very unnatural, so I didn't always do it when I meant to. I would sometimes jump or do other things. But when you remember to do it and it starts feeling more natural, I actually really liked it. Overall, though, I gotta say I was happy with the controls. I can't think of moments where I was like really frustrated and they weren't doing what I needed. Let's get on to the graphics and visuals. And overall, I think it's a good looking game. I do think there are some elements that could be better. I've gotta say, like, the faces look fantastic. The hair, not so much. Faces look this generation, hair and whatnot look last generation. But as for the designs, I really liked ND5 because he reminds you of like a Clone War droid, which he is, and I thought that was a cool look. Adding the coat was unnecessary for a droid, but it looked cool. I also like all the different outfits and ways you can customize Kay's blaster, speeder, ship, outfit. I thought they did a cool job mixing that up and giving you a good variety with that. And outfits have a purpose, I should mention in the gameplay, I guess, but here it is. Different outfits will do different things. I started rocking the Crimson Dawn outfit because I liked the stats on that, or the boosts, I guess, because they help me sneak about. It's Star Wars, so of course there's a fucking desert planet, but at least it's not like a new desert planet. It's still Tatooine, so awesome, I guess. But it's Star Wars, so you also have Jungle Planet. You don't really have City Planet so much. And then you have Winter Planet. Not quite ice, but like cold, winter, snowy. Maybe Kanto is the city planet? But then you have the space around those areas, which they did do a good job. Not necessarily making them all unique, but they did a pretty cool job making it look like space around an area in a place that has been a war zone. So you have totaled and destroyed ships and junk heaps that you have to fly around. There's a place with the nebula, which is cloudy and has like rocks that you have to avoid, which I thought was a good add to the game. I like all the effects though, I gotta say. The blaster effects, the different creatures, the space effects, you know, your warp effects, all of that. I thought that was all really well done. And again, it feels sufficiently Star Wars. You do feel like you're in a Star Wars universe, which, let's be real, that matters. That really matters. I did have some weird visual things go on, like, you know, the blaster that left a dude's hand randomly and then reappeared in his hand, but kind of warped up to his hand from the ground. Or the time I was just driving my speeder bike and I warped across like the lake and was next to my ship all of a sudden. And not a glitch, but something I truly hated was when I started this game, it was heavily letterboxed and I really just didn't like it. I hate when games go heavily letterboxed. I feel like you're missing out on a large portion of your screen. But I did run into a bunch of small bugs and glitches throughout, like just small visual things where my character would do some kind of weird motion, but it wasn't necessarily game destroying. I had a weird glitch where my controller started to rumble and wouldn't stop rumbling. I had to exit out of the game and get back in for that to have stopped. My biggest and worst glitch though was there was a cutscene where the game would keep crashing every time I was in that cutscene. And I went online and I did all the things. They're like, hey, you know, restart your game. Tried it, didn't work. Restart your console, tried it, didn't work. Restart your console a few times, tried it, didn't work. I literally had to skip the cutscene, go onto YouTube and watch the cutscene to know what the fuck I was doing and what was going on. And while I was able to continue the game and keep playing and I wasn't completely hung up on that, I shouldn't have to do that. That's some horseshit coming from a big ass AAA studio on a big ass AAA game. And then I also have heard that this game is trash right now on the PS5 because they basically didn't get an update out, so there are some actual major issues on the PS5. So I just want to point that out. As of recording this, that is my understanding. Which, let's get into the wrap up. Overall, I'm gonna tell you that I actually had a good time with this game, and I really want to be able to just fully recommend it, go out, buy it right now. But there are a ton of little glitches that just eat away at the overall experience. If I was a score person, I know there's plenty of people out there giving it like a 7 out of 10 right now. I think that's fair. I think it would be an 8 or something like that if it was fully patched and there weren't all these stupid shitty glitches that take you out of the moment. None of them destroy the game on their own, but like I said, they chip away at the overall quality, and I could very comfortably say it's okay to wait on this game until it's gone through some fairly significant patching, because like I said, I did enjoy the gameplay loop, I enjoyed the story and all of that, but the glitches, all the little glitches, they just take away from the experience. One positive is you can pet so many different space animals, including Nyx, and you can feed him, and there's a weird little feeding him mini game. I will recommend this game once it's been heavily patched. Like, wait a while and then buy it. Which I hate to say because I would love to just fully recommend this. I would love to see a sequel to this game. I want to know where K-Vess's story goes from here. Okay, in the comments down below, why don't you tell me, do you think the remake of Knights of the Old Republic will ever actually come out? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one.